Hello, my name's Levi. Welcome to my channel, Learn from Levi. Today I'm going to show you my presentation about the basics of a D&D character. If you like what you see and want to see more of it, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. With that out of the way, let's begin. To begin with, you need two things, a character sheet and dice. Specifically, a D4, a D6, a D8, a D12, and a D20. The number after the D signifies the number of sides of the die. A D20 is a 20-sided die, for instance. The next thing you need to know about are the 6 ability scores: Strength, Dexterity, Constitution, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. The ability scores are the backbone of the character and are the biggest determining factor for everything about them. There are two parts of abilities in D&D, the score and the modifier. The score determines the modifier, and there's a specific equation to derive the modifier from the score. The on-screen table gives the basics of it. Now, how to calculate ability scores. There are three methods: point buy, standard array, and rolling. In point buy, all ability scores start at 8, and you are given a pool of 27 points that can be divided among the 6 abilities. A score can only be increased to 15, and increasing a score above 13 costs 2 points. Standard array is a set of 6 numbers: 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8, which can be distributed to each ability. For example, 15 dexterity, 8 charisma. For rolling to determine ability, you use 4d4 and take the 3 highest results and then add them up. Next up is proficiency and proficiency bonus. Being proficient in a thing means you're good at it, and you can add your proficiency bonus to rolls related to your proficiencies. You can be proficient in armors, shields, weapons, tools, specific skill checks, and saving throws. Your proficiency bonus affects all of them except armor and shields. You can wear any type of armor and a shield, but to be able to function with it on and do things, you need to be proficient with it. Next, I'll talk about each ability score one by one. First is strength, which affects the athletic skill, carrying capacity, jumping distance, the modifier used for most melee weapons, attack and damage rolls, and strength saving throws, which you would use to avoid getting crushed. After strength is dexterity, which affects the following: armor class or AC, initiative, which is the D&D term for the turn order in combat, the skills acrobatics, sleight of hand, and stealth, and dexterity saving throws. In D&D, armor does not negate damage, but instead makes the attack miss entirely. For an attack to hit, the roll must be equal to or greater than the target's AC, and a character's space AC without armor is 10 plus their dexterity modifier, and this can be increased with armor and shields, among other things. The next ability is Constitution, which affects your HP or hit points, and Constitution saving throws, which are used to counter a poison or to concentrate on a spell. Your HP is determined by your hit die and your Constitution modifier. Basically, the higher your Constitution, the higher your HP. Now, let's talk about the 3 mental stats. First is Intelligence, which affects Arcana, History, Investigation, Nature, and Intelligence saving throws, which are not too common. It also is the primary ability for Wizard and Artificer's spellcasting and class features. Second of the mental stats is Wisdom, which affects the following: the skills Animal Handling, Insight, Medicine, Perception, and Survival, Passive Perception, and Wisdom saving throws, which are used to counter spells or effects that try to charm or frighten you. It's like your will versus theirs. Passive perception is a very important aspect of D&D because it affects the things that you passively notice out of the corner of your eye. If something is trying to sneak up on you, they must roll a stealth check that is greater than or equal to your passive perception in order to succeed. Passive perception equals 10 plus your wisdom modifier plus a other bonus like proficiency bonus. The final ability is Charisma, which affects the skills Deception, Intimidation, Performance, and Persuasion, and Charisma saving throws. When your character reaches 0 HP, they fall unconscious and start making death saving throws at the start of each of their turns until they get healed, stabilized, or killed. For death saving throws, you need a d20. A success is on an 11 or higher, and a failure is on a 10 or lower. 3 failures mean your character's death, and on 3 successes, your character regains consciousness and returns to 1 HP. There are no bonuses or modifiers added to these rolls, and on a 1, you get 2 failures instead of 1. And on a 20, it is an instant success and your character rises to 1 HP. Your character's array effects, their ability score increase, their speeds, race features, proficiencies, languages, and physical attributes. Each race increases one score by 2 and another by 1. Depending on your race, you may get a climbing, swimming, or flying speed in addition to your walking speed. Every character falls somewhere on the moral alignment chart. There are 2 groups: lawful, neutral, chaotic, and the second, good, neutral, evil. And you must choose one of each group. What was your character before being an adventurer? Your background effects, proficiencies, languages, background feature, starting equipment, and offers a list of ideals, personality traits, bonds, and flaws to choose from if you want to. You have a choice between 13 different classes and many different subclasses for each class. Your class effects, class features, proficiencies, hit die, spellcasting ability, spell list, and spell slots. Your class can be an artificer, a barbarian, a bard, a cleric, a druid, a fighter, a monk, a paladin, a ranger, a rogue, a sorcerer, a warlock, or a wizard, or some combination of all of them. Every level you usually get a new ability or feature from your class or subclass. At level 1, your class gives you proficiency in some, all, or no armor, weapons, and tools. Some classes and some subclasses can cast spells, and each use a related spell casting ability. Each class has a specific hit die. A fighter has a d10 hit die, for example. Each spellcaster can only cast a certain amount of leveled spells for long rests, and these use spell slots. Full casters at their high levels can cast up to 9th level spells, the highest possible level. Half casters, like paladins, have about half the number of spell slots in general and can only cast up to 5th level, and third casters, like Eldritch Knight subclass for fighter, have about a third of the spell slots and can only cast up to 4th level. As your character progresses, they should level up to a maximum of 20. Your level affects class and racial features, HP, proficiency bonus, ability scores, spell slots, and spells known. Your class's abilities and some racial abilities are received upon reaching certain levels. Your proficiency bonus starts at +2 and increases by 1 at 5th, 9th, 13th, and 17th level. At level 1, your character receives the maximum amount rolled on their hit die plus their constitution modifier. Every time they level up after that, they gain an additional number of hit points equal to a roll of their hit die plus their constitution modifier. When you reach 4th, 8th, 12th, 16th, and 19th level in any class, you can increase one ability score by 2 or another 2 by 1. As your character increases in levels of a spellcaster class, their number of spell slots, level of spell slots, and the number of spells they know increase as well. There are 2 types of weapons in D&D, simple and martial, martial being the better, and these 2 are separated into 2 different subsets, ranged and melee. Each weapon has its own damage type, damage dice, range, and properties. The damage die is rolled when calculating the damage of attack from a weapon, and the relevant ability modifier is added to this roll. When you calculate the damage for a club, you would roll a d4 and add your strength modifier. You can bump up the damage die if the weapon has the versatile property. This means you can use both hands to do more damage. A longsword typically has a damage die of a d8, but with versatile, it can be a d10. Each weapon also has an effective range. Melee weapons have a range of 5 feet unless they have the reach property like a lance, which adds 5 feet. They can have a longer range if the weapon has the thrown property. This ranged attack uses the strength modifier unless the weapon also has the finesse property, in which case they can use their dexterity modifier instead. Thrown weapons have a regular range of 20 feet and a long range of 60. The long range is the maximum distance a ranged attack can travel, and any attack made beyond the normal range is made with disadvantage. Disadvantage means you roll the d20 twice and take the lower result. Ranged attacks made within 10 feet of a target are made with disadvantage. There are 12 types of damage in D&D. Slashing, bludgeoning, piercing, fire, force, lightning, thunder, acid, poison, necrotic, radiant, and psychic. Damage is the same for any creature unless they are vulnerable, resistant, or immune to it. Force damage is a term for damage that has pure magical force with no defining characteristics. Thunder damage can be more accurately described as sonic damage. Radiant is holy energy that can burn the soul, and psychic damage attacks the mental psyche itself. Being vulnerable to damage means it does double damage. Being resistant means it does half damage, rounded down, and being immune means you take no damage at all. Resistances and immunities can be overcome if the weapon is magical or silvered. brings us to the end of the video. If you want to know more about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, I suggest using 5th edition system reference document and Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition wikidot, because they are my primary sources for this PowerPoint and are just great, accurate, complete, fully written places for information. If you enjoyed, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, Learn from Levi. Good luck, adventurers!